I'm a low-tech person. I'm so low-tech that I've never done a PowerPoint before. And Heather very kindly came to me just before I said, it's all right, I'll do the tricky bits. So this is reassuring. So Heather's there because she's skilled and high-tech and she's done all the assessments, and I just do the introduction and summing up. I work in the English department, and I'm also heading up the new programme on creative writing. Heather's the e-learning specialist who's doing all sorts of clever things that I don't understand. And she's been doing a survey of students and student opinions, which includes some stuff on discussion boards that she's going to talk you through. So what I'm going to do is talk about about one particular course that I teach and how we use discussion boards in it. And it's a course of creative writing within English. And it's a single honours first year course that all single honours students do, which makes it a little bit different from some of the other courses we've talked about. Hey, you did the tricky bit, that was good. So the first thing that people wonder about is what is assessed in creative writing. Some of you may know this already, but for anybody who doesn't, we do a fairly standard assessment at the end of 12 weeks. Assessment covers No, that's not a tricky, that's just me waving my hand right. Assessment covers creative work which is selected for the portfolio, and a reflective essay which comments on the editing process, responses to feedback and so on. And this is the point at which for English students it feeds back into their literature work. Okay. It works. Anyway, because this course isn't just about creative writing, but it's about academic understanding and analysis of process, that reflective element is absolutely vital. And discussion boards are one of the tools that we use to generate the understanding that will then be used in the reflective essay. But it's also used to post creative writing and to think about the drafting process. And I should say that the discussion boards came in not because I was committed to Blackboard, although I am, not because I thought, oh, we must have this extra forum, but because I thought, oh, hell, the marking is going to be impossible. There'll be loads of neurotic students wanting me to comment on their work all the time, and I can't cope with that number. So I thought, what shall I do? I know they can comment on each other's work. So, pure laziness, obviously. But it obviously does have a plus, because there are these things that students have to do. They need continual feedback as a spur to editing, and the feedback encourages them to reflect on the process by which they write and edit. And they have to practice drafting and editing, and they learn to comment on this. And I'm now just going to show you how this is set up in the first 2 weeks. Okay? Yes. So in week 1, there are various writing exercises, and a lecture gives students rules for keeping a journal. They are supposed, though I don't check on it, to write in their journal every day between 350 and 400 words. Although I don't check on it, students come to me to confess that they have missed an entry, even as late as week 10, which shows how dependent and sweet first years can be, doesn't it? And in the second week, they have to bring in one prepared entry from their own journal. It doesn't have to be true, and they're advised that it shouldn't be too personal, because that could be quite embarrassing, because they're going to share it with one other person in the class. And in pairs, they read each other's journals, and they're asked to find 3 things they like about the partner's journal entry. This is very reassuring and quite important. And it's important to say what you like about people's work as well as what you dislike. And then they're asked to phrase specifically, I would have done this bit differently because, not it's wrong. The whole aim here is to expand ways in which you can write the same thing, to expand possibilities. So it's got to be unthreatening. These are after all English students, not students who chose to do creative writing, but students who were compelled to do it. Okay? And students then think further about editing before they are let loose on an entry from my journal. And you'll remember that the last person in that extract from the DVD said, "I wish my teacher could do the writing and I could mark it." Well, if you look at the handout, you can even do the marking yourself if you like. I do actually, every year, give them a genuine, unedited journal entry from me, and I encourage them to edit it ruthlessly, which is and it's obviously got to be something not personal that sets up some problems, and also ideally to reassure them it should present their tutor in a light that is slightly comic, as you will see from the entry that you're being presented with the rules. And as people look at it, you will understand why this is funny. But the reflection on the drafting process is also helped by looking at manuscripts of poetic drafts. And the great resource here that I use different poems every year, or use usually, is the Wilfred Owen archive that Oxford University has online, free to use. On the back of your handout, I know it's really irritating to see manuscripts and not quite see them, so I have photocopies on the back of the handout for you. But we look at how poets have actually historically drafted a poem and what changes they've made. For example, here we've got the line, "Father and mother, one voice, sighed," crossed out said. You cross to the next one. And here you've got another side, "Oh mother, mother, dad." And you can spend some time discussing with students how those changes came about and how this relates to their own process of editing the creative writing they've already been required to do. So students, as their English students, will then, having done this editing exercise and having edited some of their own work, what I'd like to set them, I'll find something else one day, is Keith Douglas's poem Aristocrats, because there are two versions and there is a critical dispute about which is the later and which is the better version. And I divide them into groups, tell them to come to a conclusion in each group as to which is the later version. And of course when they come up with that, whichever they opt for, there is some scholar who supports their view. But what's interesting is that by week 5 of the course, they're saying things about the editing process of poetry that I couldn't get third years to say until I started teaching this through creative writing. Okay, so that's the background of the sort of thing I do. But Heather's been looking at the student experience. And Heather has yet more handouts. So exciting.
Yeah. I should say, now for something completely different. Kathy is so nicely spoken, and now you're going to hear a lot of Irish, a lot of rambling here. I don't teach English at Montfort, but I work in e-learning. My background's in e-learning, and I used to write courses, e-learning courses, and I was a scriptwriter for scenarios and simulations. And since the rollout of Blackboard at Montfort, we've been trying to sort of, I suppose, make it a bit more interactive, and I work maybe right across the faculty of making politics different areas, and trying to introduce some interactivity. Kathy's actually the star performer as regards the discussion board, and she just seems to attract big numbers of students. What I tried to do here, I had tried to get some feedback from students, and I had done a quick question on a questionnaire, basically about Blackboard. I had also interviewed about 16 of them, and I also looked at some of the transcripts. Now, I don't want to start giving you this sort of statistics of who said what, but what I've tried to do is think across the different subject areas, and I mean, the whole point of today really is looking at different contexts. And all you can do is pull out from different contexts and try and recognise something that might be useful in your area and try and build those up. So I've tried to sort of pull these together. Just taking that thing. Yeah. So in the particular discussion boards Kathy was using, she had these rules, and the students, I mean, the particular part I'm talking about was just related to sharing writing. So they're not actually collaboratively writing. they are writing beforehand, posting it, and now the people are they're doing peer reviews of that. So what we did was, what Kathy did was, she's divided up discussion boards into lots of different functional areas. So although Kathy didn't come in and, I suppose, monitor this particular area, she was always present. She had, I suppose, frequently asked questions. We had sort of getting going, what do you think of Leicester, just things to get people chatting. And then in this part, there was 3 different groups, and each of them posted up their writing on it. George, go on to them. Thanks. Now, I don't, you probably can't see this at all from here, but this is the figures, statistics from the database, and you can see, like, we're looking here at, there's 3 workshops that we're participating in this writing one, and you can see there's one of them here with 3,312, about 12 students. And like, when you look across all different subject areas and everything, and also the feedback I got from the students was really good. They loved it. It was fantastic. So therefore, I just thought, well, what exactly, is she doing? And I went along and sat in some of Kathy's classes to see, has she got a big stick really? And it's exactly as Matt was saying this morning. I think just little things like bringing it back into the class, and you can tell students go off and use it, but Kathy was actually bringing it back as well, I sort of saying. I noticed there was a couple of things on Blackboard, or just a little thing like that, which I thought was quite telling, and that they were aware that even though she was making no comments about the writing whatsoever, that possibly they were thinking anyway that she's watching it. The next part I looked at was, I asked them about the assessment, and I said, do you think discussion boards should they be assessed or whatever? And they kind of said, well, no, but they are assessed if you want them to be. And their idea was, I've written all this down, so what they actually were saying to me is, well, if you want to, you've got the opportunity to work on some piece of writing, put it up, get the feedback, and improve on it and put it back up again. Or you can use the feedback that somebody's giving you in your portfolio. So they were obviously really talking to them. They felt really sort of quite empowered, because they didn't have to go on the discussion board, although they all did. Because they felt that it was up to them. They could put whatever they wanted up. They could pick their portfolio themselves. And I suppose, you have to think as well. People are students are quite strategic. And I noticed, in different subject areas where they would post up bits of essays and things, you could tell that a lot of them were, I suppose, based on other work, or if they know they're going to get assessed, they're going to prepare it in the same way as you would for an essay, I suppose. But I think they just do what they have to do to get the points and for the marks. So anyway, the thing with this was, I think that you can see that they all participated in it and seemed to really enjoy it anyway. Let's go to the next one. The main thing, where, as people have said today, they really love getting feedback anyway, no matter who it's from or whatever. And particular things you notice even from looking at the transcripts, where one, they were actually asking people for feedback, pleading for feedback. And people who were on as anonymous did the same. You might think there's sort of a difference in presence with people, I suppose, not speaking to the rest, but they would actually address it. Can you give me feedback on this? I would really appreciate it. As if they were talking to somebody. Well, they are talking to somebody, but as if people knew who they were. And Kathy did. You did know the names, didn't you, of everybody?
Yes, they had to use a pseudonym when they knew what it was.
Yeah. We just said there was 3 different discussion boards there. There was one of them particularly busy, and I don't know any statistics there for that at all. Over the 12-week period, there was 8,644 hits on that, with 59 students, I think, and they were divided into 3 groups of about 20. And the one group, the Thursday group, it was very busy. You can see that I had just put one thing on there. I didn't want to write, show everybody's text. But it was obviously competition. I thought we should get on and in fact, from two of the other groups, they joined in. Some of them joined in with some as well. So although the others were quite busy. The feedback as well. The students said find that it gives them an awful lot of confidence. Well, that's I suppose not really surprising. Also, they seem to think as well. When we're sort of asking questions about discussion boards, or what do you think of that, where you ask 10 questions, that they're sitting there thinking of Blackboard, or just thinking of discussion board totally separate. And of course they don't. They're thinking of their whole course, and they'll tell you immediately about. I suppose we did this group work in the class, and some of them, I think I put one of the comments down there. They consider the class, the workshops, as collaborative work, and this as I put it up to test it on the board, got my own feedback for my own assessment. So, sometimes the way, if you're looking at it first, it's totally different from when you actually ask the student themselves. I think, that's about it. Yeah, the last couple of things I was saying there about the context being really important, and also, yes, there was an awful lot of chat, not really off task, but the part that I was saying about confidence. Like, we got quite a lot of those in, the introductory ones where people were just sort of saying, I feel a bit shaky coming to Leicester or whatever, or starting this university. And this was right in the middle of people posting, writing, and then commenting. And so I really feel I can't do this. I can't put my writing up. I can't, dispose of this. Anonymous posting, and then lots of people come back. No, it's okay. And somebody else come on and go, I'm a poor mature student, and it was getting really. But Kathy came in once, and that was the only intervention in the whole 3 of those writing ones. And Kathy, I think we directed or helped
students. It was students who had been to a lecture and said, I wanted to ask you a question. The lecture residents have the nerves that you might laugh at the lecture. And I came in and said, I've anonymised your question and I've sent it to the lecturer, and this is his response. And she was incredibly pleased that she got a response to her question within 5 to 6 hours of having not asked it, as it were. And this set up a whole discussion about how people felt nervous of lecturers and so on. It was immensely useful for me to see that. It was immensely useful for them. And they started saying, there's an academic guidance unit, you can get help with writing and all sorts of things like that.
And I thought as well, because you've come in, it sort of looks as though nobody was answering this particular student, which was the problem at the beginning. And I thought because Kathy had come in then and sort of, I don't know, kind of modelled how you would help another student unless instead of just leaving like that. So it was that difficult, that problem one. They also rallied round, and the next one modelled all the students.
Should I jump on to conclusions?
Come on, sorry. Anyway, I have put a pile of little comments in the back, and I was thinking of your Wolverhampton one this morning. These are a bit different.
Yes, these are much more important. I'm just going to suggest a couple of gaps in what we did that have become apparent as Heather and I talked this through. One is that students aren't yet reflecting on the discussion board itself as a mechanism for developing creative writing. Obviously that could be worked in. And use of the discussion could be, because it's seen as being technological, a way into writing which is more aware of possibilities offered by computing, like hypertexting and hypertext and blogging, things that we might use when we start the creative writing program next year. And finally, with another picky. I thought that, thinking of what from Heather's research, although I've thought about assessing feedback on Blackboard, I thought there were problems with it. First of all, I think it might increase the marking burden, which is about where I came in, but also that it could limit creativity and experimentation. People know everything's going to be... here we've got somewhere where people are writing something that isn't marked. Isn't that what we all wanted, actually? Somewhere along the line, students voluntarily write something that's not being assessed. It would shift the focus from the quality of written work in creative writing to the quality of the feedback, and I'm happy about that. It would end spontaneity and informality in postings. Heather found somebody who said, I'm always drunk when I post on Blackboard. And there are people posting at 1 or 2 in the morning. Well, that's fine. There's something to be said for spontaneity and informality. It's what things have gone out of university since I was a student. It might hinder students from acknowledging vulnerability, which I think has been very important to some of our students. And students might feel less empowered in using the discussion boards and more frightened of what was going to happen to them. Okay, so those are my queries about using it for assessment for this particular course. I should say this is for this particular course where I'm working on.
Thank you for an enlightening talk. It kicks off this debate about assessment. I think we have time for maybe one or possibly 2 quick questions or one more lengthy question.
Did you use the online discussion to eliminate having paper copies in the class?
We didn't have. I tended to use group writing in class rather than paper copies, except when they got the extract from my journal where they were encouraged to bring in red pens, and I kept on going around and saying, no, cut more of it. You're not being drastic enough, just in case they were polite. Though one of them said there's only one sentence worth keeping, and it's a short one. It's devastating. There's a certain, and certainly students might be asked to bring in copies to share in a room. Because they were within English, it wasn't so much an issue because I didn't want, one person's poem or whatever to be put up for everybody to look at. I much preferred little informal group feedback where it was less devastating, because I was more concerned that if they were creative writers, they would develop. But if they weren't, they still got something out of the course, which was, understanding. You can understand how a sonnet works by writing a really bad one as well as by writing a really good one. So that it's to do with the way the course worked. So I wasn't interested in paper copies when I was doing the group exercises. What the discussion boards made them do was to write on their own, as well as the journal. They were writing more and more things that they just put on the discussion board. That was extra to in class. It wasn't the stuff they did in class on the whole that went on the discussion boards. It was other work following up.
Just very quick question, Kathleen. How many students roughly take you up on the anonymity possibility?
Did you do a statistic? I didn't do it.
I did. I have.
It wasn't. I think it was a minority.
Well, it was about 40% in one of the 40% of the writing that was posted.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But a lot of those who started off anonymously then acknowledged who they were and started posting with their names attached later on. And quite a lot of them told their friends what their pseudonym was anyway, so they just didn't want the entire year to know. So anonymity could be relative. And nobody abused the anonymity provision. And most of the people who spoke about confidence and lack of confidence did so under their names. It was only the creative work that went up anonymously. Unless occasionally somebody would forget, and then they'd often go back and say, I'm terribly sorry, I forgot to put my name, which is. And some of the people who posted anonymously are now being published in a publication of first-year work with their names attached, things that they published anonymously on Blackboard. So it was a good icebreaker for them.
Oh, yeah.
Was there a quick question? No? Okay. Right, then, thank you very much.